Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. I'm your host, Joe, here with Coinigy, and I'm joined by Mr. Brian Beamish from
Well, we're live. You got muted on your end
TheIRationalInvestor.com.
there. Yeah, you can tell I'm a little rusty with the OBS
Yes,
there.
sir.
As soon as it kicks in, we've got the echo audio, but I quickly nipped that in the bud, so that's good. But
Very
anyway,
good.
hello everyone! Woo! All right, ready to rock everybody's world here tonight. A good couple
Yes,
hours of
sir.
TA.
Looking
Maybe we'll
forward
sprinkle in a
to it.
little FA if we're lucky. See if we can
Ooh,
turn Joe into one of these rational analysts. That would be kind of
we're
fun.
hoping for.
All right. So, and you have, of course, your homework assignment. So it'd be interesting to see how what kind of progress you're making on that.
Yes.
And as soon as you're ready, we can actually start actually analyzing some of the ideas that
Yes.
you're interested in. But well, you are our host here at Coinigy. So where do you want to take the ball here today?
All right. Well, first things first, I was thinking there actually I did have a note when I was going through my notes, and I did actually had some clarification on something that wanted you to kind of jog my memory on. I wanted
Okay.
uh Fagenbaum, uh
Wagenbaum, yep.
Fagenbaum,
He's a
yeah.
German, so you don't want to
Can't read
offend the
my
Germans.
handwriting there. I scratched it down and
It's a bit good.
wanted.
And actually, did you watch the Wagenbaum tutorial I did for you guys?
Yeah, I had it with the chaos theory there too. I know
Yeah,
we
yeah,
talked
that's
about
that.
that.
And if you
Um,
the easy reference, maybe you can cut and paste this. But
I
this is Fagenbaum. I think something like that. It's tough to
oh,
get his name spelled correctly. But this is the image. This is his great gift to the universe. Is this image? I
okay.
don't know whether you've ever seen this. And actually, this is super cool. One of my students who actually has become a TA, and now he's actually a co-instructor of one of our programs. He actually blew my mind the other day, and he said, "Brian, you are this little line right here, and what you've done over the past 10 years to try and make that." And I get choked up over this because I take this stuff very seriously.
Mhm.
But you can kind of think of this as, I have two business partners at TRI, Seward and Julian. So there's a bifurcation. Then we have, our level one instructor, Grim, and of course, his TAs, and, level two instructors, and then level three instructors, level four instructors. And, we get to the point where this just becomes an unstoppable chain of like dominoes. And it all starts with one person just making a push in the positive direction. I was really blown away by that. Such a cool, and I constantly get messages from people all over the world. Brian, you don't know the difference that you've made in my life. You know, I hear about this from many, many different walks in this world. So, and I take, like I said, I take this stuff to heart.
Yeah.
I'm on JoJo's mission.
Yes, sir.
So that really touched me the other day when Josh told me about that. I was just like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I never looked at it from that perspective. So we can actually inject chaos theory right into what it is I'm trying to do in this universe. So there is your Feigenbaum bifurcation image. And think of each of these sort of branching offs
Okay.
as these mathematical, conjuncts and stuff. So, we could, for instance, my sort of belief in W's, right?
There.
So you could make the argument we'll use the fib retracement tool to try and help us illustrate this. The market was trending down, and the sort of sentiment was down, negative. We're going to zero, all that, right?
Yes.
Then something happened, and the sentiment changed. And the W is basically that war. It is the visual illustration of the supply and demand dynamic changing in the marketplace. Right? Through all of this period, the supply just keeps overwhelming the demand. More supply, more supply, more supply, less demand, less demand, less demand. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then we go through a transition. This is a down market. And then something happens where demand actually starts to increase and supply gets overwhelmed. So now, in this scenario, right now we have greater demand. Each of these lows is higher, and less supply. Each of these highs is higher. So the Feigenbaum principle, what I just showed you there, is nothing more than this is the establishment of a new trend or a new direction or a new dynamic in that supply and demand equation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, how does that new equation express itself in the market? And very simply put, the very first bifurcation level we should think about is 2.618. So you could think like, what we showed you there. This is 2.618. And so the market has a decision it has to make. Does it want to continue on that road? Or does it have to come back down and check the original thesis of whatever this new trend is?
And those levels in the chaos theory are 0, 1, 2.618, 4.66, and 877.
Yeah, I mean, technically they go on to infinity. I mean, you can see that. I
Yeah.
mean, once we get to
Yeah.
here,
It just keeps going up.
it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and the these are in fact there's and I'm sure that I don't have the numbers exactly right,
Hmm.
but following 877, the next one should be like 16. I think it's like 16.22 or something like that. Um, I can't remember exactly what the number is. And then following that should be like 32 point, and I can't remember what the number is. We'll just leave it at 32.
Okay.
So I've just found, me personally, that very rarely do we ever see moves beyond 877, because that would be like one, two, three iterations. And you notice if we go one, two, three iterations, by the time we get to that third iteration, you can see things are getting pretty chaotic here, right?
Hmm.
So like this is pretty consistent. Once we get to here, things start to get really scattered. And I've just personally found that, once you get to that level, usually that 877 is like the home run extension level,
Okay.
um, bifurcation level, if you want to call it that. And then what ends up ultimately happening, which is pretty cool, is, if we put on like 32 here, for example, I don't think we have that on here. Oh, yeah, we do. There it is. So
Yeah.
let's see where the heck that is. Oh, there it is,
Oh,
way up
yeah.
there, right?
Good. Scroll up a little.
So, and interesting too, this kind of makes sense because you can see that, 16 and change was a pretty darn important pivot level, because
Yeah.
this 16 level describes basically this high, right? And maybe I'll just do freehand. Right, that high, that low, also that low to a certain degree. So
Hmm.
clearly, this is some sort of important fit. In fact, actually, could even argue there. Right, that's a pretty important pivot level for the market.
Yeah.
877, you notice, well, that describes that low and that low in there. Really, this whole battle in here was off that 877. You could even argue right off of that. So what this really says is that when we do get our act together and really rock and roll, what'll be really interesting is probably if we play connect the dots, boobity boo. This pretty much tells you almost exactly when it's going to happen. Which is kind of funny. But if this Feigenbaum study was consistent and we kept accepting the new levels, then it's saying that we want to probably top out there. Now, that's a big if, and I don't think that's necessarily happening here because each one of these levels is going to, in essence, be a war unto itself. So you can kind of see how we initially jumped up to 2.618 and we accepted that level. The market had so much inertia. Can you see how it sort of played around with 2.618 up to 4669 in here?
Yeah, for
Kind of like just
two
bobbed
months.
around, bobbed and weaved. So then we accepted above 4669 here. So the next stop should be that 877. But you notice she's having a really hard time. But I might argue that right now we are doing nothing more than just playing between the 4669 and the 877. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And remember our conversations of late, right? We've been kind of
Uh,
thinking that, at least I have, I don't know whether
yeah,
you have or not, but kind of thinking that this is some
head and
sort of
shoulders.
head and shoulders top here, which would make sense. I mean, this is basically, the war going on between these two levels. And remember, we had said that that 877 really describes sort of the bottom. You can almost think of this as like a shelf in the marketplace if we just did a big horizontal line like that. And the market used this as support. And there's an old expression in the market that says what once was support will often become resistance. So my hunch is that if we can get back up into this area, probably going to find people that originally were calling the top on this. And you remember, if I'm an institutional player, am I allowed, if the market breaks down like this, and I'm an institutional player, am I allowed to go in and panic sell down there?
No.
Who panic sells at the bottoms of markets?
The public.
Very good. So, what is the institutional player likely to do? And that's the whole concept of the reload zone. Is the institutional player, and I might even just use this most recent fib here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. There to there. Oh, I guess that is the study I wanted. Okay.
Let's adjust it.
Okay, so we'll put away the Feigenbaum levels and we'll throw up our reload zone levels. I have to find them here first. There's 886. And where is Mountain? There's Mountain. Notice how Mountain Man actually lines up pretty close to that 877 number. And again, right up against those highs, eh? So my hunch is that this is going to be a pretty stiff resistance if we can even get up there. I kind of noticed. Remember last week we talked about price momentum,
Yep.
and we said that if we see that the market is moving higher, and you could even now, everybody watching this video, you can all do this study yourself. I mean, the good part about understanding these tools is you can now, like literally, um, almost like a doctor, take like a barometer reading, like a health check reading of your patient. Right? And the patient, of course, is the asset that you're studying. Um, so, we can, come on, we can, on this push move higher. Remember, this was Mr. Fink and his Bitcoin ETF
Yep.
bluster. You remember all that?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, the sad thing is it really didn't have anything to do with fundamentals. It's not like anything actually changed. He's just barking about how he wants a chunk of the action kind of idea with his BlackRock and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so there came Mr. Fink. Price just shot up like a rocket here. But remember last week, we said that even though price was shooting up like a rocket, let's see.
Everything else is pointing the opposite.
Well, not even pointing the
Yeah.
opposite,
Not,
actually, even
or
doing
sorry.
even worse things, right?
Yeah.
Let me just see if I can get this on the screen. We had it last week. There we go. Um, can you see how, as we're moving up here, you could actually take like a health check of the patient?
Yep.
And you could even argue that really, as of here, this move up here, and then this pullback along here and the erosion of MACD, you could like kind of like what I said earlier, and this is the great part about TA is you can actually use this as like a diagnosis, or no, that's not the word, a diagnostic tool.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's fancy schmancy, eh?
There we go.
Um, I'm not a car mechanic. I'm a stock mechanic. Or actually, this is not stock, is it? It's crypto. But
Same concept.
okay, bite your tongue, Brian. These aren't stocks. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
But do you see
That's the
how like
cool
we can
thing is,
actually, you can use technical analysis tool to actually give you a very real time sort of diagnostic reading. How healthy is this bull run here? Is it likely, given this backdrop, that we're going to actually even make it up to the 877?
no.
And I mean, what we can say is because we did punch through that 4669, and you can see how when it came back, it sort of flirted with that 4669, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where Mr. Fink came in. And my hunch is Mr. Fink, he trades chaos theory as much as anybody else. And what's really interesting, I was showing you earlier, I won't pull it up now, but I had my interactive brokers account up and running. I think you saw it there earlier.
Yeah.
And the guy who actually founded Interactive Brokers, he was the guy who first told me about chaos theory in the 1980s, that
Huh.
long ago.
Wow.
Um, and he said that he made all his fortune in the stock market, and the reason why he was able to, start Interactive, and of course he's worth all of us put together 10 times over,
Yeah.
100
Maybe.
times over, maybe 1,000 times over. But anyway, and when the interviewer, this documentary that I saw, when the interviewer asked, "Well, sir, since you made so much money with chaos theory, would you mind telling us how it works?" And dead silence. So, in a weird sort of
Crickets.
way, I'm breaking the rules. Guys like Peter Fink, they should be very angry at a guy like me because I'm giving away all the secrets here.
And that's why everyone check out the video. I'll put it in the link, the chaos theory one. We plugged it in here a few other times, but nowhere else on the internet will you find
No.
uh, something like that. So I'm gonna put it in the chat now for viewers watching or for those watching at a later time.
I would not discount all the other tools, though. That like the we have fib retracement study
Yep,
and also fib extension studies. Those are very powerful as well.
we have
Like
all.
we could do a fib extension. And let's see, you've been working with me long enough, and I kind of gave you the answer right here.
Yeah,
But can you see how this kind of looks like an inverted head and shoulders going the other way? Down,
I
up,
can.
down, up, down, and breakout.
Yes.
So, we can use things like extension studies. And you can see I have like the reload zone on here. But let's flip this around. Um, And you can use extension studies to help you see upside objectives as well. So We can go
Those are 0, 1, 1.13,
good. Yep, that's usually
1.27,
yeah, let me here just find them on the screen here. So we'll put that away, we'll put that away, we'll put that away. I might have
and
to type the note in.
1.41. And then
Um, should be one. I mean, the primary ones, the most important ones that we really want to have on here are
point 6.
1.272 and
Okay.
1.618.
Okay. Because I have 1.618 equals the golden ratio.
Yeah, that's a really, really important number in mathematics. And also too, remember, like 0.618. We keep running into that number over and over and over.
Yeah.
So remember we said our reload zone was 0.618. Do you remember the cheeky name that we used to call the reload zone? Or that 0.618 level?
The parking garage levels. Is that,
No,
oh,
that's
that's the
actually that is basically what I'm trying to show you here is 1.618 up to 200%. I like to affectionately call this the parking garage. And also too, as what you'll often find is if we go, remember we do the harmonics A to B,
and B to
and
C.
then yeah, we
Or
clone
sorry,
that,
C to D.
and we go C to D. So quite often that you actually find that this A to B, C to D, it actually takes you up to 1.618. So this one's a little bit shy, but nonetheless. So that's a study that I like to use, and that's why we have 1.618 on there. Quite often, these AB equals CDs take us up into that level. This one in particular looks like it takes us up into 1.445, which isn't necessarily a fib, but it's just simply 1.272 plus 1.618 equals divided by 2 equals 1.445. So
Okay.
what did I just do there? What I really did was I just took the 1.272, 1.618, and the 1.445 is the midpoint of that study.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So we also do the same thing with the fibs going down. So we talked there a moment ago about Mountain Man. That's the
Yep.
0.618 level I
6.8.
like to work with.
Yep.
And then the next, let's see if you can remember this. I'll quiz you here.
Okay.
What's the next big important fib that Brian really likes? Hint, hint, hint. It's called Brian's favorite fib.
78.6.
Huh?
78.6.
Right. So if we want to highlight that, let's see if we can zoom in here for you because it's getting awfully small. Remember, I had this on the chart earlier. You can do the same logic. So there's 0 and 1, but now we're going to do retracements. So there's the Mountain Man level again, 0.618, jumping out at us. 0.786, Brian's favorite fib. And you can do exactly the same logic, and this is what I basically teach people, is let's figure out what the midpoint of that is. So 0.618 plus 0.786 is 140 divided by 2 is 0.072. So 0.072, it's not
Okay.
necessarily a fib, but what I'd like you to think about it, let's see, where's the best place to put this? So many numbers. We got a couple 4669s on here, don't we?
Yeah.
So let's go over here. We'll go 0.702. So this is exactly the same logic as the 1.445 being the midpoint of these two important fibs. 0.072 is the midpoint of 0.618 and 0.786. Why am I saying all this? Sometimes markets, in this case, you can see just tag Mountain Man and then just took off. But a lot of times, actually, these markets, and I just want to see if I make sure I have these numbers correct here. Um, oh, goodness, so many lines. All right, there we go. Um, looks like this was too far. All right. So a lot of the times, markets will think of this as do you play baseball?
I'm a lacrosse guy.
All right. I don't know whether
They
it would
always
work in
interfered
lacrosse.
in
It
the same
might.
season.
What happens if you catch the ball with what do you call the basket part of the lacrosse stick?
The head.
All right. So what happens if you catch the ball? I don't know. Actually, this would be interesting to see whether this works or not. Um, I mean, like I don't know whether it's called a lacrosse stick in the what happens? Okay, so here's your lacrosse stick. What happens if you catch the ball like right on the rim over here? Is that
uh,
easy to do, or would it be easier
it's
to try and catch the ball right in the middle of the
catch
bat?
it in the
That
middle part.
and that is that when you're sort of teaching people how to play lacrosse, do you go out of your way and say, try and catch the ball in the middle part of the net?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean that's important, right?
Yes.
So I used to play tennis, and I used to teach tennis. In fact, I used to play competitively, and I used to teach like tons and tons of people how to play tennis, and it's the same logic. Baseball, it's the same thing, right? But maybe let's use the tennis racket. And I don't know whether the same principle works, but and I was asking if you played baseball, so I don't know whether maybe baseball is taboo.
I still know baseball.
Okay, well, so the point here is, what do they call so like if I was teaching somebody how to play tennis, I would encourage them not to hit the ball with the rim of the racket. I would
Yeah.
encourage them to try and hit the ball in the middle. Do you know what this area of the tennis racket's called?
Uh, the center.
Close. It's called the sweet spot.
Sweet spot. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
And I don't know whether it works in lacrosse the same
Yeah. It's
way.
same
Like,
same concept of
okay. And like I made reference to baseball, right? Like what happens when you hit the ball with like the top part of the bat or the bottom part of the bat? Do you make like solid contact, or does it like
no
make like a foul ball kind of thing?
foul ball.
Right. So literally same logic when it comes to trading. So, think of, Brian's magic fib area. And of course, we have a name for this 0.618 to 78.6. What do we call that?
Reload zone.
Right. So, like if I'm a bull, I want to reload, I want to buy down markets. Right. Remember, we said up top, same sort of thing. If I'm a bear, I probably want to try, if I can, to get short in that window there, right? 618 up to 786. And the middle of this box, can you kind of see how we would call that like the sweet spot?
Definitely.
So the same logic applies with extensions heading up. That's why we put the 1.445 on that. These are the two primary fibs that we want to keep a close eye on, 1.272 and 1.618. And 200%, you're never going to find a 200% reference in Fibonacci numbers. They just don't, there's no round numbers in fibs, right? There are all these crazy numbers, right? 1.618 and 0.786. So what the heck is 200%? 200% is nothing more than just think of, and I use the concept called the parking garage. Again, what I found when I was a tennis teacher, and of course when I've been teaching trading now for 10 years now. I can't believe
Hmm.
it. Time goes by fast, I'll tell you that much, by crackers. But I like to use really colorful images, right? To try and help people remember concepts. The more colorful, the more outlandish, the more crazy an idea, the easier it is for people to actually remember it. So, does it make sense that this is a trading range? It went
Yes.
down, back up, then
And
down, then
down and
up.
up. Yeah.
So you could, by definition, think of this as like, and we also used to use the department store. Do you remember Amanda and Dash?
I do not.
Yeah, she was a colorful spokesperson for Dash. And actually, you don't even really hear about Dash too much anymore. I don't even know if
No.
they're even still around. They might not be. Anyway,
Or
Dash
big
did a
back in the
number
day.
one of these, and we called it the department store. So does this make sense that maybe this is like the ground floor of the department store?
Yeah.
So like, what do they sell on the ground floor of department stores?
Uh oh, clothes.
No, usually it's like household items.
Oh yeah.
You know, they maybe they sell food and stuff, right? On the ground floor, right? Um, then you can think of this next stage as like the second story of the department store. So do you see how 200%, all we're doing is we're just replicating the floors of the department store. You see that?
Yeah. Okay. That makes
So
total sense there.
you can use the department store analogy, and this goes all the way up, right? And when you're in crazy ass bull markets, and they're of course a lot of fun, they usually only come around about once every 20 years or so. So it's going to be a while before we have another absolutely insane bull market where everybody's going to be making fortunes. But you could make the argument that 300%, 400%. This is just nothing more than the market stair stepping its way up the price. So something like that, and something like that, and Dash. I don't know whether this would show. Again, I don't even know if Dash is even still on the board
So
or
I
not.
actually just looked it up and that's crazy. The it was up
Okay, so
to
you have the chart. We might as well show the good people the chart. So, just as
uh,
an illustration, what exchange are you looking at?
I just they are on Binance.
I think actually it went even higher than that.
It
But
went to 20, was it
yeah, I don't know. I think
1400?
on Trex actually. Well, when I on, I think probably Poloniex. They probably had the longest time.
Yeah. Let's see.
Um. Oh yeah, look at that. It's come all the way right back down.
Yeah, it was
Look at that. So yeah. So can you see the parking garage concept here? So we
yeah.
could say that quite literally that is a floor of the department store. Where we go. This is household goods and you know whatever, right? Pots and pans. This was the next stop on the department store, 200%. Maybe this is like household appliances. This is the toy department. And way up top here, in fact, actually, I think it was the fifth iteration, was what we affectionately called Amanda's penthouse. Right up top. There she was, up in her penthouse.
Funny, like right at that spot is pretty much when I joined Coinigy.
Right up top here?
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So maybe you do remember Dash.
I remember it, that was like me first kind of actually dipping my toes in the cryptocurrency. And I remember that was one of the big names being thrown about at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So, we could do the same logic here. Like this was just the parking garage concept, but we could go 2.618. And of course, 4.669 and 8.77 for all our chaos theory levels. So, you can see that once we got up to 4669 based on chaos theory, that next hurdle was just too much. Just
Hmm.
no way it could get up there. Had a hard time holding above 469, came screaming back down to 2.618, and in fact actually started melting all the way right back down to the original lows. So you can apply both of these kind of concepts. If you're thinking about trading ranges, then the the inverted head and shoulders concept is a visual way for you to understand. I'm not quite sure where we're doing this. Were we doing it on Binance? I
You can
can't
just
remember.
press the back button
Oh
too.
yeah, I suppose we could have done that. Where is the back button? Here we are. Let's see what happens. So, kind of a fun little. Actually, there's another one that I got off just an absolutely insane win on, and actually, it
Let's
spat
see
out a
it.
buy signal today. Uh, Good old Verge. Do you remember Verge?
Yeah, it's been a minute since I heard that name.
Yeah.
All the throwbacks out today.
Yeah, I was, and it was even on Trex because Trex is still alive, eh? I couldn't believe it. I saw on Trex.
Oh
I bought
man.
this thing at 2 sats right down here. This is versus USD. But I bought this all. I think this was. No, actually, it was the previous cycle. So that doesn't even show. Yeah, because it was in sats, right? So it'd have to be versus Bitcoin. Um, I mean, this was probably my best trade in crypto through the 17 cycle. So I loaded up on this thing all through this. Now, you've been working with me long enough. What do we call this pattern right here? When we go like from there and there. What do we call that?
Ranging. I thought it was
Close.
market. Uh,
What do we
uh,
call that?
oh, those are the
We'll give you a
shooting
hint.
star
We'll give you the letters.
doji. No,
What do those letters stand for?
NS.
Let's see. Have we got Adam in attendance? He'll give you the
Yeah, I
answer.
don't know if I've.
He's such a sweetheart. He'll give you. You should take him into the exam hall with you and just have him
I
sitting
should.
beside you while
I've been
you're.
doing so well today, answering some questions. I don't know if I know this one. I did my homework. I was
Look at that Forest Real Estate Group brokered by EXP. Now
oh,
there's a name,
arrow
eh? Fuck me.
sideways channel. I've not learned this one yet.
Oh,
So
really? This doesn't sound
yeah,
familiar to
this
you?
is a new. This is new to me. So let me take out
Keep in
the
mind, this is a
note.
weekly price chart. We
Yeah,
changed this to a daily chart. Look how long and torturous this was. So and this is just absolute gold for anybody here who's actually here to learn how to trade. Uh, if
one
you can
day.
find these kind of situations, now first and foremost, what do you think the public? Keep in mind, look how long that time window is. So that's from 2016. So that's about June, July 2016, all the way through to basically April of 2017. So that's like a full year. Actually, yeah, that's just about exactly a year. This is what's called a narrow sideways channel
All right.
where price just gets stuck. Now, what do you think the public is thinking through this whole year looking at this asset? What do you think the public's thinking?
I feel like they're kind of getting anxious. Like do something.
I would argue that they have no interest
No.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're
Oh yeah,
like,
that makes
this
sense.
is the last thing in the
Yeah,
world.
it's
I'm a
dead.
crypto enthusiast. This is the last thing in the world I'd have any interest in whatsoever. And what you need to understand, all you expiring,
Hope I'm not
let's hope you're not
expiring.
expiring. But
All right.
what you need to understand, all you aspiring technicians, is that the longer the channel, and actually somebody wrote the answer
Josh
there in
did.
the You can tell that these guys have listened to me over the years. They actually, Adam loves to do this. It's like literally, I will open my mouth and three words will come out, and then Adam will literally finish the sentence. You gotta love them. If anything, that's a testament that I'm a good teacher because these guys are buying this shit and they're remembering it. So that's
Heck yeah.
good. And that's exactly what should happen with you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
So, how did that expression go? Look over in the chat and
The
finish this
longer
with
the
me.
channel, the bigger the run.
The longer the channel, the bigger the run.
I'm writing
Just
that
think of
down.
this as like quite literally energy. Remember our Foggenbaum? We literally do the study off of this range, right? From the lows back up to the highs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's interesting. We won't get into this, and I don't even know whether we can do it on. No, we can't. Um, a million years ago, when before the days of computers, um, technicians would use what are called point and figure charts to help them understand price. And all point and figure charts do is you don't plot every single day a plot on your chart. You only plot an X or an O if price happens to move a certain distance. It's called a point and figure chart.
Okay.
And if you get one of these narrow sideways channels, you literally count up all the X's and O's within the range. And then once we break out, can you see how we're breaking out of the range right here?
Yeah.
You literally, it's called the horizontal count method. You just literally count up all the boxes and then just write out all of the boxes. If you counted up 100 boxes, well, then you would project 100 boxes straight up. And you can kind of see this in this chart. Do you see how long this channel was and how absolutely insane this move was?
Yeah.
Now, if we put this on a percentage, right, that's over 700% move from these levels, and that's starting there. Let's start from the bottom of the chart. So that was actually 3,300% move. So do you see how people get rich in venture capital?
Yeah.
So
Some
super
monies.
cool. Um, Lots, really, really good information for you guys to try and learn from this. Take a screenshot of that. First off, the concept of a narrow sideways channel. And, I publicly said, and you can go back and look in the Twitter feed if you know who hasn't killed my old feeds from forever ago. But I
Alan.
literally said that I was long this thing from two sats. I'm not quite sure how these numbers work here, but I distinctly remember buying at two sats. These numbers actually look pretty high. I'm not quite sure why it's 200 like that. But, what you're looking for. And do you see how this is basically, you could even say, well, doesn't the current market kind of look like this right now? 2021 was your big blow off top.
Yeah.
2022 is an absolute nightmare. And what are we supposed to be doing in 2023?
Accumulation year.
Right, so you can kind of see how this is basically doing that exact same thing. And so it was interesting when I hit this sort of button of, okay, what the hell does today look like? And I'm not quite sure why these prices are as high as they are, because I know for certain I bought at two sads. But let's see what it looks like today. Now that's kind of interesting. Might still have some more correcting to go, but hello, look at what that is. Son of a gun. That was a bit surprising.
Yeah.
And also, too, notice that that was our old narrow sideways channel reference. So they actually brought the market back to the top of the channel, put in a bottom, big spike up. You could probably make the argument that that's like the beginnings of a reload zone. Um, 618, 786, and we'll throw in our 886, our venture cap reload zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't want to get sucked into the euphoria. I think what's going to happen here over the next maybe couple months is it feels like the whole stock market's going to just elevate itself.
Interesting.
So I don't know whether you saw, but I think Bitcoin's probably found a bit of a floor here, and it looks like it wants to work its way back up now. And hats off to the TRI algo. If you followed it, it basically flashed a buy signal there, literally right at the bottom of the market. And it flashed a sell signal at the top of the market. And it was last Wednesday when the signal came in. And I did this show with you.
Hmm.
And I was so tired afterward. I went out to the living room and I fell asleep. And the algo spits up the signal at 9:30.
No.
Yeah, so I was off in La La Land. I woke up at probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock on the couch, right?
Oh, it's disorienting.
And I just sort of groggily kind of just went to bed. I didn't even really think. Woke up the next morning and I completely missed the damn trade. So, I was very upset at myself over that.
So do you set alarms when you're doing that stuff?
I should.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, after talking to you for a good 2 or 3 hours, it's exhausting. And keep in mind, I start my day, I mean, ridiculously early. Like I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, right?
I know.
Why the
I'll
hell do I
wake
get
up
up?
some days to message him like Brian's up early today. I got like an
Oh, yeah.
hour of sleep compared to him, and he was already up and had his coffee.
Yeah. So
I
actually,
like to
just
think I get
based
up
on,
early.
sorry?
I like to think that I get up early, but one step ahead.
Well, that's the curse of us living on the West Coast, right? Is
Yeah,
we unfortunately, if you want to live the world of high finance and all that, right? Well, they operate on New York time,
yeah,
so we get screwed a lot of the time. Anyway, interesting. We've talked lots about trend lines and how you trade with trend lines with you, right?
yep,
So can you
and
see how this breakout here that was not a buy signal?
yeah.
And sure enough, we had to drift, 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 drift. But lo and behold, look at what's just come in here.
Want to wait for a W on the other side of the trend line.
Yeah. I mean, this is again, it's remarkable this the gold that I'm just spitting out to you guys. If anybody actually watches these and takes notes, I think I told you I had one gentleman. His screen name was the Great Del Moody. Really funny name. He literally watched my weekend shows for like 2 or 3 years straight. And, there are a lot of these guys. I remember when I was over in Portugal, there was a few, university diehards. They're like total mathematic geniuses and stuff. They will never pay a site subscription. Never!
Yeah,
Never! They'll get
yeah.
angry at me for suggesting that maybe, hey, why don't you come on over and join TR? Never!
How dare you suggest that?
So anyway, there's this one guy that literally he spent like 2 or 3 years, and all he did was watch my free videos on on YouTube, and he literally wrote an entire user's manual. Total like university. Smarter than probably 20 of us put together. Guy, doctorate, all that. And he literally wrote a user's manual on how to trade. And he taught himself how to trade just basically watching all of my free stuff. So, anyway,
Sounds fantastic.
point of the matter here, W's on other sides of trend lines. That's the shit.
Yep.
Reload zones. Interesting how we're in here. Now, would we say that we have trade location?
Yes.
All right. What's step number two that we'd really like to see?
The indicator confirmation.
Very
That
good. So let's go and see what the indicators are trying to tell us here. Uh, is MACD making higher highs and higher lows even though price is making lower highs and lower lows?
yes.
All right. And what do we call that condition?
Divergence.
So, do we have a supportive case for indicator confirmation?
Yes.
Sure looks like it, eh?
Hmm.
And then the sort of final coup de grace.
The market
is
structure,
do we have a
the price
W
structure.
to help us frame risk? And that's the whole point of the market structure is that's really the only job of M's and W's. I mean, of course, remember we talked earlier about how this is really a visual demonstration of the change in the supply and demand dynamic. So, quite literally, this W is your sort of gauge that number one, the supply and demand dynamic is changing, but number two, it actually gives you a very usable framework to help actually manage risk, where you're just going to simply buy the breakout through the W and you're going to let these guys, because this is a concept that I don't think we've talked about with you before, but what the hell, we'll add something new to
Let's
your
do it.
toolkit here today. What would we call? Okay, so the trivia question is what would we call this two bar pattern here? Boom, boom, that made this ultimate low. Is there any kind of name that we would give that? That
Um,
two bars, the bar that made the low plus the preceding bar.
um, body.
Give you a hint, because I'm just
The
such a wonderful guy. The letters
yes,
are IFP. Actually, I had quite a few discussions on the website recently about this. People were asking about this question.
inside institutional fingerprint.
Oh, nicely done. Did
Uh,
somebody type that?
Someone
Ah,
did,
they
but
did.
I should have. That was literally on my first page of notes there.
Oh, that's good. So actually, we have
Yeah.
talked about it before, eh?
Yeah, so
All
we
right.
have the institutional fingerprints are visual reference to be able to see where smart money puts money into the market after the fact.
Right.
And
So I mean, just remember, right? Who loses money all the time in this damn game?
the public,
And what does the public usually do? What's that expression? FOMO. What does that stand for?
fear of missing out.
So we know that they suffer from the fear of missing out, FOMO. We
Hmm.
know that they lose money on a regular basis. So then that must mean that do they buy down markets or do they buy up markets?
The public,
Yeah.
they buy the up markets.
Right. So here's the public, sadly, of course, panic buying all this over here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get rich. Oh, I better not miss out. Everybody's driving their Lambos, blah blah blah, right?
Hmm.
So if that's the public and they always lose money, then by definition, who makes money at this game? The other guys. The guys who are actually selling to the public when they're panic buying up here, right?
Hmm.
Those are the institutions. So if the institutions by definition are selling here, selling at market,
Okay.
well, when do the institutions buy? They make money quite consistently. So they certainly aren't buying this because we can see after the fact, well, price went down, and if you
Yeah.
bought here, you're in it. Well, you lost money, right?
Yep.
So that's probably not the smart money. They didn't do that.
No,
So
that's the
where
public.
are the smart moneyers buying? Well, they do the exact opposite. They're buying
Yep, the bottom and
down
the reload
markets.
zone.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
this bottom might have come in just only at 38.2 to 50%, what we like to call the first stop target. If this was like trend continuation of bot trade setup, this gets a little more complicated, so we don't really need to get too in detailed here. But sometimes, this market will only correct here and then actually start to make another leg higher. Point here is that if I was an institutional player, I'm buying this action, the down action, right?
yep.
Um, and really, my job is to actually get the public to stop chasing. In fact, when I used to do these videos with a couple of the site members, when we were at the top of the market there a couple of years ago, it was kind of funny. And it's a testament that actually what I'm doing is right and it's working. But I had one show co-host um, who let's see if I can do this. BTC USD, and we just go on stamp or something. Just keep it simple. Um, he actually did this show with me on a regular basis, but he was educated. And so he got to the point where we were up top here and we were
Okay.
starting to break. And he's like, Brian, I'm going to formally resign from doing the show because I'm not going to be buying anytime soon anything here. In fact, and then he went off and he built a house. So is that not the definition of a smart money, fucking rich guy
Yeah.
kind of idea? Well, I made so much money in the market. I'm gonna go build a house
Yeah.
for fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
might as
Nick,
well.
he said, Brian, I will come back when we're in easy mode. We're making higher lows and higher highs. But right
Yeah.
up here, I'm not interested at all. And frankly speaking, that was a pretty smart move.
You washed it. He's like,
Yeah,
I'll
and
be
he just walked away. And that's what
back.
you have to do in these kind of markets. When the public is going all crazy, and what's worse is that the people that believe in the Bitcoin story
Yeah.
and they don't really approach the market from a technical perspective, they're actually the worst ones. Because when we're up here, they're just screaming, this time it's different, this time it's different, this time it's different. And there's one gentleman in particular, he's very, very popular in this space. But he was basically calling for hundreds of thousands of dollars through here, which was, frankly speaking, I think a little irresponsible. But the problem is that these people don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of brand new to all of this, and they certainly don't have any education in like how sharpshooter institutions trade the markets to make money from trading. So anyway, point of the matter here is based on this little guy. This little window down here, looking back after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
as you had said, we call this an institutional fingerprint. Because, and we could also, just to finish that thought, we could also call this an institutional fingerprint up top there, right?
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
in our education program, I define it as the bar that made the high plus the preceding bar, or basically the public was just so FOMO, buy, 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 but somebody stepped up and sold into this rally and stopped the bull. So this is a bearish institutional fingerprint. We can look back on it because remember the public buys up markets. No, and I wasn't talking about Da Vinci there, Omar. Da Vinci, I don't think he uses glass node stuff. I'm talking more about the glass node guys. I mean, they really got wrapped up in the whole tech of it, and this time it's different and all that, but that's actually a trap, I think, to a certain degree, to get too wrapped up in all that sort of new world order and all that kind of stuff. Especially if you're here to make money from trading this stuff. That's. I mean, it's okay to be wrapped up in the romance of the story. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can be a Bitcoin bull. I mean, hell, based on the way that these guys are printing money and endless government debt, you can see they're just diluting the crap out of the currency base. Bitcoin has no choice. It has to go up, right? As long as they keep the supply relatively consistent. So, anyway, point of the matter here is does it make sense that after we see this W come in, remember we said this is quite literally the anecdotal evidence of a new bull market. Somebody came in, and through this phase of the market, supply was overwhelming demand. But now, remember, institutions buy down markets.
Yep.
The demand for this thing stopped the price going down, And then we actually have now put in a higher low.
Yep.
So in this particular case right here, price was coming back down. And if the previous supply demand dynamic was still present, this thing would have just kept going lower and made a lower low. But the institutional fingerprint, this is your visual evidence that somebody is stepping up and actually buying. Does that make sense?
It does.
And what's super cool about this, anybody watching this, again, this is absolute gold, people. Can you see? Have you ever heard me? Let's see if you can finish this saying something, something, something for trade location.
Oh, look left.
Okay, but
Wait,
I have a very
look left
specific,
for,
I
oh, no,
won't
no.
show you.
Wait, for trade
Something,
location.
something, something for trade location. Let's see if any of the YouTubers can finish
That's
this.
where the
Cole nailed it.
candle body lows.
So check this out.
Candle
This
body
is
lows make for uh candle body lows make for a great trade zone,
trade location.
trade
Remember,
location.
I just said blah 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 blah. Trade location.
Yeah.
And look at this. I mean, how can you script this any better? Do you see the candle body low here? Right, that closed at 1210. And if you were just sitting there at your computer, at your home, and you had just placed your buy order at 1210 right there, what do you think? Would you be a pretty happy camper right now?
I would.
I mean, look at that. That's
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go be like a funded prop trader trading the goddamn stock exchange kind of trading. I mean, look at that. Fucking
Beautiful.
hedge fund managers can't fucking time their purchases better than that.
Yeah.
That's insane. So, like, what's this low? This low was 1197. And we said this number was, actually, no, I think yeah, this candle body close, right? You can see right here. It says 1210. Can you see that? Right up here.
Yeah.
1210.
Okay. Yep.
And this tail low,
1219.
no, 1197. Right? The low.
Oh,
That's
low.
this
I was
right
looking at
here.
close. Yeah.
So 1197. I mean, so you took a grand total. If you put your order at 1210, you took a grand total of 13 sats of risk. I mean, if you want to learn how to be a sharpshooter trader that's going to take over the world, practice this. And that's just incredible. So, what do you think the odds are if we did a fib from this rally peak down to this low? I guess wherever that candle low is. Yeah, that's it right there, right? What do you think the odds are that, we'll move that over, right? From that peak down to that low, this is a reload zone.
Probably pretty high.
Yeah. 786!
Yeah.
Brian's favorite fib.
Yes, sir.
I mean, so, I don't know. Are any of you here to make money from trading?
I do believe everyone is.
I mean, that's absolute gold right there. Absolute gold. I mean, just it's incredible how bloody cliche this stuff is, eh?
It really is.
So, maybe this is a daily chart. Maybe you draw up your reload zones. So you have this area, and you already know that this candle body low is floating there, and it's bait because like right as the market's coming down here, we don't even know what this trend line is going to look like, right?
Yeah.
We do know that the market bounced off of these lows. So maybe at this point you drill down to like say a 4-hour chart. And now that 4-hour chart, there's the rally peak. There's the sell-off low. There's the candle body low. Look how even on this 4-hour chart, the candle body low is still exactly the same. And look at that level. It's just absolutely incredible, eh? So this is like next level trading. This is not next level trading. This is you want to open up your own hedge fund and take over the world kind of trading, take it. In fact, here, this is probably a really good lesson for everybody. Let's even right here, candle. Oops. And then we'll go Brian's fib. And just do yourself a favor over, say, the next few weeks and just see if you can see this happening in the market. See if you can remember this was our institutional fingerprint. That's what this
Yeah.
big box was. See if you can identify this situation. The interesting thing too would be to see what our indicators are telling us down here. Not really getting any clean signals. Probably need to get down to like an hourly chart or something to start seeing signals. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. God damn. It's so. I mean, my apologies that I'm
Yeah.
swearing. Anybody who's. I'm an old gnarly trader, so this is what I do. But can you see how the market's coming down here? And notice MACD. This low here, right? That's ultimately down into these lows. That low on MACD is 3 there. And this low here is 5. So this low, and actually
Doesn't.
that low there is 4. So 5, 4. This is a higher low, isn't it?
Hmm.
And you notice that, and actually, in fact, it did it a couple times. Because this is like -6. So 6. You can even argue there's a little bit of a bull div that formed there. Didn't really have any. The one thing that's missing here is we never really got a very good looking W to try and sneak our way in. But we're like, you know what this image is? This is actually us literally trying to like thread the needle. Have you ever heard that expression before? Threading the
Yep.
needle?
Yes.
So that would be like basically coming in, buying against these lows, risking to a break of these lows, on the fact that the MACD, and we could probably look at some of the other momentum indicators. Was Willie stupidly oversold? Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And have we ever talked about Willie? I don't know whether we've
Yes, we
actually.
have.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I built this indicator specifically to tell me when markets are overbought and oversold. So you can see right up here, the moving average is above -20. Market's overbought. So don't be a buyer there. Market backed off. Look how deep this thing came down. Then rallied back up here. Market got overbought again. Don't be a buyer up here.
So
Then market just absolutely pukes out. And then, we've got our bull div coming in on MACD. Willie is stupidly oversold. We're in trade location. The only thing that we didn't get here is we didn't get a big fat W. Other than that, this would have just been an absolute textbook setup for me.
so the Willie being oversold is generally good.
Yeah, good. Good is a relative word in
Yeah.
trading.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're short, you don't want to see this.
Okay.
If you're a prospective buyer, then this is encouraging. But the number one message, and if you're, maybe write this in your journal, and everybody should have their journals out. You never really want to take a trade just based off of Willie. Um, you always want to use Willie in conjunction. This is going to give you overbought, oversold readings, and you want to use it in conjunction with a raw momentum oscillator that's actually saying that, okay, yes, the market is oversold. And if you were a prospective buyer, that's a good thing. But notice that it started to get oversold over here. So as this is getting oversold over here, I don't want to be a buyer here. I need for, yes, this to be oversold, but notice MACD starts to turn back up. This is where I'd want to be a buyer.
You
And
said
as
you
I
wanted
said,
to
sorry,
using you want to use it in conjunction with what? Sorry, I was writing that
a
down.
raw momentum oscillator. There's an expression for you. Raw momentum oscillator. So MACD histogram and MACD study is the relationship of moving averages. So the histogram works as a really nice oscillator. So it oscillates back and forth, back and forth. So hopefully what you see is this thing is Wing out, right? Because that's what you want to see if you're bullish.
Yes, sir.
You want to see that move there. So this will just simply oscillate to overbought and oversold. But what you need is a raw momentum gauge. Some people like to use RSI. I think in previous shows we've done RSI as well. So the point with Willie, and you might even argue to use Willie to its absolute best, we're just actually going to put away the raw indicator and just use the moving average. And like I said, Willie used best is when it's oversold. This market's oversold. And I actually call it stupid. Because, this indicator was actually named for a client that I used to have. His name was Willie. And I could literally set my watch to it. As soon as Willie got oversold here, he would be calling up and saying, sell, 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 sell. And I'd be like, maybe you're a bear, and okay, that's fine, but this probably is not the best time to be a seller. And conversely, when this indicator would get overbought like this, he'd be calling me up going, buy, buy, buy. And I'd be like, maybe this thing's a good buy, but this is not the best time to be a buyer. But, it's his money, and all I am is the broker. And it's actually interesting. I had a fascinating dream this afternoon where I was literally sitting in a bullpen with a whole bunch of brokers and guys that I respected in the industry over the years. I think my subconscious is actually telling me it wants me to go back into the brokerage business, believe it or not. Anyway, so because you're the broker, right? It's not your money. You're not allowed to override the client and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't care what you want to do, Willie. You're not allowed to buy. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, that's called discretionary trading, and you can lose your license very quickly if you get into that habit.
Interesting.
But hopefully you can see right here, right? The market was ridiculously overbought. We talked about this. My phone would be ringing off the hook. Now, do you see how the MACD oscillator here is actually starting to paint lower highs?
Yep.
Willie's gotten stupidly overbought. The oscillator is painting lower highs. What did we call this situation? Where the indicator is making lower highs and lower lows, but price is making higher highs?
Divergence.
Right. So if you actually have a situation where you have a bearish divergence and the Willie's stupidly overbought, that's actually a huge sell signal. And this is actually a setup we teach on the course called the El Tangonator. And really, I've traded this setup forever. The only reason why I call it that is because one student who was from South America really, really liked this setup years ago. So I was like, you're from South America? Let's call it the El Tangonator for the site, just for fun. Anyway, so here is a really good example of both a bearish divergence with Willie stupidly overbought, which translated into a huge sell signal. And then conversely, bullish momentum divergence confirmed with Willie oversold, translated into a huge buying opportunity. And of course, like I said, Willie would be calling me up on the phone saying, sell this thing, sell it. Oh, it's garbage. I don't want it. Get me out, get me out. And I'd be like, that's probably not a smart idea. Yeah. And sure enough, he'd be calling me up a week later going, oh, I guess I screwed up again. The guy, and that's the worst part about it, is the worst clients you can possibly have as a broker is a guy who's very, very successful in one business and has sold this business and is now sitting on a mountain of money because, whatever that business that he was the man. And for the longest time, right, people literally swore by anything he would say. He was the man, right? So then he comes to the stock market and he doesn't realize that he's walking into a trap. Wall Street's just getting ready to take his money from him. Or even in this case, cryptocurrencies. It's all the same thing. It's no difference.
All money.
Anyway, what do you think? Was that a half decent little tutorial there for you? It's pretty cool.
It was. So,
So we talked
um,
about Canada, and actually, here's also a really interesting tool. I think I've told you about this before. What do we call this window on the price chart? Is there something funny going on right there? What's that?
gap.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
they
tell
let it
me,
build
what is the percentage probability that this gap, or basically a hole on the price charts, is going to get filled in?
like 90 some percent,
91 and a half. No,
91
in
and a
fact,
half,
it's like it's 91.4 or some crazy
90.
number like that.
Yeah.
So, remember candle body lows for trade location off the higher time frame charts. And
Yes.
now on this hourly chart, we actually see there's a price
So,
gap.
so you said that's off of the higher time. I'm going to add that for great location
Yeah,
off
because remember
the,
we were saying like daily chart.
yeah.
That was this candle body low right in there.
Yeah.
And then we went down to the 4 hour chart and we saw that that was that candle body low there. And then we were kind of like, well, let's go down to the 1 hour chart and let's start hunting for signs of divergence as we're
Yeah.
coming down into this level to give us a hint that maybe price is stronger than what price leads you to believe.
That makes
And
sense.
now off this lower time frame chart, you go, well, son of a gun, there's a gap there that needs filling in. So of course the price is going to come back to that level.
Interesting.
Isn't that incredible?
It really is.
It's quite shocking.
Like makes you
Especially when you look
smile.
back at this after the fact, you go, I can't believe how cliche this is.
I know.
So you can see even now, uh, what's the statistical probability that price has to come back to that level at some point in the future? Ooh, and look at this one. I mean, I think we definitely have to come back to there because there's open air right there, eh?
Yeah.
But also look at this one. This one's huge. Look at that.
Yeah.
Huge open air in there. And for the record, I don't consider these tails coming in here actually filling in the gap. I need to actually see a full candle
Body.
body actually come in. So, in the short term, yeah, you can see price came back down, filled in the gap, but it just left a tail. And same thing here. So you go, well, over the short term, I guess the gap's been filled in. But over the long term, all of these gaps will need to have candle bodies come in and actually fill them in. So just, remember that. Put it in your pipe
Yep.
and smoke it. Actually, it is interesting when we looked at this that on the daily chart, they look pretty clean down here. So, if we were sitting here now, and what did we call this bottoming formation down here?
The institutional footprint
Right? Or fingerprint, right? And
or
just literally
fingerprint.
think about
Sorry.
it.
Yeah.
I'm a cop on the scene. I'm an investigator, and I want to know who put the bottom in this. Well,
Yeah.
this has got the institution's fingerprints all over it, right? Make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right, now, what letter of the alphabet did we say that actually confirmed here?
The W.
And are W's bullish or bearish?
Bullish.
So, what is a study that we could use that we've talked about tonight that we can actually incorporate now that a W has actually come in here?
The Fibonacci.
Well,
The
let's be a little bit more specific.
the boom. The retracements
No,
or chaos
retracement
theory.
that painted this, right? Remember Brian's
Yeah.
favorite fib? What is it that we can do if we see M's or W's come in on price charts? Let's go back to what was that thing called?
Let's see. Oh, the chaos theory.
Right.
I said that.
So we can actually start projecting what's a realistic objective based on this W.
Okay.
So we can go, let's make sure this is precise. So there. And then we can come in here and we'll put away retracement numbers. And we will put on our chaos theory levels, eh? Yeah, let's get crazy. We'll even go all the way up to 32. Boom. So, anybody watching this, you can do this. We said, first and foremost, was this acceptable trade location? I think the answer was yes. We asked, was there a bullish momentum divergence through this move to justify, well, and what do we call the bullish? Well, if we saw bullish momentum divergence, we would label that criteria number 2 as
The indicator confirmation.
excellent. And then finally, we've got price structure to help us frame risk, right?
Yep.
Price structure also, too, helps us identify profit objectives. So it is interesting that we try and think of chaos theory as the market's heading in one direction, but then, and let's say it's bullish, which means if the market's heading in one direction and it's bullish, what is the prevailing activity in the marketplace?
They're buying.
Excellent. Well said. So does it make sense that at these bifurcation levels, remember we're calling this chaos theory, what ends up happening coming in at the bifurcation levels is chaos in relation to what was the prevailing market activity. So if the prevailing market activity in this case was bullish, people are buying, what would be the expression of chaos in the face of that buying trend?
That the institutions are selling.
Or anybody, right?
Or
Anybody could
okay.
be selling. Could be
Anyone is.
stop loss orders. It could be actual people coming out and saying this is a great level to take profits. Could be even somebody coming in saying, I think this is a great level to actually short. And I want to make money seeing the market go down, right? Could be anything. But the point of the matter here is, does it now make sense why we call this chaos theory?
Yes.
Because prior to the bifurcation level, and in this case, we said this was a bullish trend. So prior to the bifurcation level, the prevailing market activity was basically just buying. And then we hit one of these bifurcation levels, and now we have buying and selling. Or in essence, the previous sort of directional bias is now turning chaotic. Does that make sense?
Does.
So if you understand that, then you can actually look at a price chart and you can start asking yourself, would it make sense that, we have this W, prevailing price trend is up, but when we hit this level, 2.618, we might actually realistically start seeing sellers come into the market, disrupting this pattern of behavior that was dominating in the marketplace, the buying. What did we say was going to happen here? What did we call this big hole on the charts here?
They're going to get filled.
This is a
Price gap.
Gap.
Yep. And the gap.
How about these people here? Where are these people right here sleeping as we speak right now?
On the couch.
And also, too, you could make an argument there's a bunch of them in there as well, right?
Yeah.
And we know that the market wants to fill in the gap, but what happens once the gap is filled in? All right, let's go back to our hourly chart. Notice once this gap was filled in, did the price keep going down? Right, gap filled in, 91.4%. And then what happened?
Started going back up.
Yeah, it literally changed direction. Is that not a great anecdote of this was a very orderly sell-off? Sell, 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 hit the bid, sell, 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 sell. Holy chaos! Well, now we're buying. So, I don't know. Somebody sent in a memo. Now we buy, we buy, we buy, we buy, we buy. I mean, is that not the definition of chaos? Something just happened.
I'd say so.
So now when looking at this chart, and this is where I'm trying to go with all this, is try and when you do draw levels on your price chart, just try and ask yourself, well, does this make logical sense that we might actually see some sellers step up? And yes, this was a bull and buy, buy, buy. But once we hit this level, get ready. These guys, they want to get the fuck off the couch, right?
Yep.
So I think this is a really, really good example of chaos theory and you understanding what this bifurcation actually implies. I don't know. Call me crazy. Hopefully that was
No,
a good tutorial.
it was. That was great. I
So,
appreciate that and tying that all back in together there at the end. I
yeah.
think you offered a really good summary there and just pulled together everything that we had talked about earlier and put it into action there. So
You
I
want to see
appreciate
something
that.
really cool
Let's do it.
is
Well, head and shoulders.
yeah, you can already read my mind. So we can go from over here and maybe that's the shoulder and that's your neckline and that's your head and that comes up to be a neckline and then that's a shoulder and then that's a breakout and what do we call this whole pattern? It's a
An
fractal.
inverse head and shoulders. Oh,
Inverse head and shoulders, but this
yes.
is,
Yes.
what's really cool is that this chaos theory is actually tied directly into this fractal concept. In that, if you actually look at the bifurcation, do you know what this image is? Have you ever seen this image before?
No.
This is
Reminds me of
actually
the
what's,
nucleus of a cell.
pardon me?
Remind me of like a cell, like a nucleus.
This is actually what's called the Mandelbrot set.
Okay.
And it is the way the universe is constructed. And quite literally, the bifurcations, what's super cool is that these two, this was a gentleman by the name of Mandelbrot, and you want to really freak your brain out, right? You've heard me say that the universe is a fractal. Have you ever heard me use that expression before?
Yep.
So there is the Mandelbrot set, and this was a gentleman by the name of Mandelbrot, and quite literally, all he did was he just said took like an equation, like y equals 1/x, just a really simple equation, and he just keeps pumping in the answer. So y equals 1/x. So you just take the answer y and you plug it into x. And
Okay.
then so you just keep reiterating the same equation over and over and over. And it turns out, and this, I don't know whether we can play this or not, but it turns out this is the way the universe is built. And this is why I say that the universe is a fractal. So you just saw that big image. There's our Mandelbrot set, right?
Yeah.
And if you keep plugging the same, remember, y equals 1/x. If you, like, say, plug a number in for x, you get a value for y. And then if you plug that value for y into x again and redo it, then what ends up happening is the universe is a fractal. This literally goes on to infinity. So you saw that big, it's called the bug. And
Okay.
notice every single little part of this Mandelbrot set is nothing more than just the equation repeating itself. There's the bug image again. And you can, any part of this that you zoom in on, it will just keep repeating itself to infinity. And if you really want a fun evening with your girlfriend, maybe pop something into your mouth, under your tongue, and just see if you can watch this from beginning to end. Like some of these, do you see? There's the bug again. See how
Yeah.
that equation?
Yeah.
Literally, you just keep plugging the same variable in to the equation and just keep reiterating, and it just keeps going over and over and over to infinity. And it will just keep going indefinitely. So is that kind
Never
of cool?
ending. That is very cool.
So, I mean, I'm not the purpose of tonight is not to explain the Mandelbrot set, but the point here is that actually this bifurcation concept is directly tied into the Mandelbrot set. So all of this is all working in conjunction. And what's really cool, I don't have it handy. Maybe in a future episode I'll show you. But in essence, if you turn this image on its side, it's actually these bifurcations repeated at infinity. It's really cool. I mean, it's stunning how all of this stuff is all interconnected. So, what we're really doing here is we're actually explaining the way the universe actually is built and the way the universe works. Super cool.
It is.
And like I said, the guy who made a fortune. So it's not an accident that this is going to look the way that it is. And what did we say that thinking Mandelbrot set? What is actually? Oh, there it is. There. This one's probably a better one, but I don't want to get into this because we could spend all fucking night talking about this. What I want to mention is there an image that we've talked about before that happens in nature that's a really good example that you can use to help you understand this concept that the universe is a fractal? Hint, hint, hint. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Now let's see if you can remember what it is. And hint, hint, hint. What
Wait,
country
yeah,
am I? Where am I from? There's your hint.
Canada. Canada.
All
It's
right. So what's
flag, like the
the
flag or
emblem
the
on our
maple leaf.
flag?
The maple leaf.
All right. So if we look at a maple leaf, you actually see Mother Nature in action. This is
Yep.
in essence, right? And I said to you this before. Do you see that the head and shoulders pattern
Looks like the maple leaf.
is nothing more than just one of these little branches of the maple leaf?
Yeah.
And what's super cool about this is that if you zoom out, then you notice that each of these branches is one of these little fractals. And then if you put the whole damn thing together, it makes one big honkin' fractal. Now, what do you think the odds are that if we zoomed in really close on this little point right here, there would be a little maple leaf fractal at this point right here? And at this
See,
point here, and at this point here, and at this point here. And then if you zoomed in on that, and it just goes
the
on
same.
to in basically infinity. And that's the way the universe works. So this is sort of where things get a little bit weird. Because a lot of people who live their lives, they don't like to acknowledge that actually we're kind of operating within a very strict framework. They actually like to believe that their lives they're in control of their own lives, that they have freedom of choice, that things aren't predestined, that it's not like some matrix that we live in. But the longer that I live and the more that I see the way this, I'd hate to say it, but I would say, and it'll be interesting over the next week or two for us to watch this, but I'd almost say this is a predestined destiny. It's almost like this doesn't really have any choice. This has to happen. Now, that always gets dangerous when you start talking like that. Because people are going to be like, well, no, this is happening because Verge, and I don't know whether do you know what Verge, what industry they're in?
I do not.
They're in the porn business.
Ah,
Or at least they were. Maybe they've gotten religion and they're no longer in the porn business. Who knows? But the point here is that they'll probably say, "Well, no, we just landed a deal with the hottest, latest porn." What was that girl that took Trump to
Yeah.
court?
It says that in April 2018, it was announced that the adult entertainment provider MindGeek would be accepting Verge currency as their
Yeah,
payment option.
and of course, what did Verge do through that
April
2018 peak?
2018.
Remember we said this was like 3,800% return, right? And this is
Oh
how you
yeah.
get. I mean, this is how you get stinking rich in trading shitcoins, right? And this is the how ironic,
Yeah.
right? Because I think
Yeah.
there was a guy that was also involved in this space, and you never hear about him anymore. But he and I had a funny run in back when I first got involved in this space. Guy by the name of Romano, and he actually developed a cryptocurrency to be used in the porn industry. And he when this market was collapsing through this period, he famously went to Vegas and ate ass to try and save cryptocurrency. It was all
Jesus.
over Twitter, the whole damn thing, right? Uh,
Crypto Twitter's a reckless place.
yeah. So you don't hear too much about Romano anymore. I don't know what the hell he's done in this world. Anyway, he was a funny character.
Funny.
So, point of the matter here is that this is actually a very compelling idea down here, you know. And if I'm one of those risk taker guys, that's a risk that I should be taking every day of the week. Now, just to finish off our thought earlier, uh, and this is a good little handy sort of rule of thumb. If I'm going to come up with a price objective for obviously this market fell down quite a bit and is start trying to turn back up. What's a good general rule of thumb that we should use when we're ever thinking about where is a good place to think about taking profits?
Where to take profits? The rules to
The-
trade. I don't know when you're when you're selling half on a double.
okay, that is that, and actually I got off a really good trade. Just to give you an example, I haven't really been doing it too much in crypto. I've been a little bit lazy. There was a couple assets that doubled in crypto, but I was just too slow to get off doubles. But I did get off a really nice sell half on a double in the stock market here recently, just this past week, right here. So there is, I mean, this is a really good rule of thumb. Interesting too. Notice if you can somehow get your 2.618s to line up with double levels, oh my God, that is just the sex. So that was just an absolutely brilliant trade there earlier this week. And interestingly enough, the stock is completely backed off away from there. So it's always a good idea to have those orders working. Just play from a position of strength. But that's not quite what I'm going for. So, is there a general, really simple rule that we should apply if we're ever thinking about where we ought to take profits? Hint, hint, hint. If I ask and answer a question like that, obviously the answer I'm looking for is yes.
Yeah.
And your hint will be his initials are WDG. So who the hell
Oh,
has initials
the
WDG?
that the 50%.
Excellent. Who's
Yeah.
WDG?
William Gant.
GAN, GANN. Yeah.
Yeah, Gann. I
And
keep calling
now
him
you can
Gant.
really score some brownie points with Teach if you can tell me what the D stands for.
Uh,
And actually, I do remember in one of our shows, I did say
yeah,
what it was. And I was like, I love his middle name. So I have actually told you before.
Dilbert.
Huh?
Dilbert.
Excellent. Good for you. Jeez, Joe's scoring points right, left, and center. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to simply measure from this low back up to the high. And this should always be, no, it's not Delacorte. This should always be your go-to, keep it simple, stupid, technical objective. Uh, this will keep you out of a lot of trouble when it comes to trading. So, where is the 50% rule? You see how I just did that? Nice and simple. Don't
Yeah.
overthink this. And interesting, look how 50% level just so happens to line up with our 4669.
Okay.
You think that's an accident?
No.
Also, too, what did we say was this 4669? What's the theory?
Boom.
Starts with a C.
Oh, the chaos theory.
Do you see where are these
Confluence
people sleeping right now?
on the couch.
Would they love to be able to sell if we ever got
Yeah,
back to there and get the fuck off the couch?
they would love to.
So
They're
do you
missing
see
the
how,
bed.
yes, maybe this is a bull and we're pushing higher, but we head into this wick and
It's
you're going to
time.
see a lot of sellers come out of the woodwork. Does
Yep,
that make sense?
it does.
And then what is this little hole on the chart represent?
Nice little price gap there.
So can you see how, and just as somebody was at Adam posted there, we have like three very compelling, technically legitimate reasons to think about the market coming up into this level. And then Brian's funny little analogy of those poor guys who bought into there and how they'd love to get out of that bad trade. So, does it make sense that we probably should use the 50% level or thereabouts as our profit taking objective?
Yes,
And if that's the case, then can you see how this whole trade is coming together? What did we say? Remember, we started this conversation with you off a while ago. We said that what's the sort of minimum level that I would like to see all students try and shoot for? And what's the, actually, no, let's back up before we say that. What is it that you must do in this game called trading? When you are right, what has to happen?
you have to pay yourself
Right. And we said that sort of the minimum sort of pay yourself ratio
two
relative
to
to the
one.
risk that you're going to take.
It's
What do
two to
we?
one.
All right. So now you tell me, is this risk reward framework acceptable in my eyes?
Yes,
So can you quite literally see this is actually setting up a very respectable trade idea?
it is.
We can actually, we don't have to have, like unfortunately with the indicator, I mean, look, God, this is perfect. So you've got, basically MACD making higher highs and higher lows. So confirmed bullish divergence, and you got Willie nice and stupidly oversold. I mean, it's absolutely textbook. Um, and to save room, what I would just do is I would write on here confirmed bull div like that.
Yep.
Just right on that. Actually, maybe we'll do that like underneath. And I gotta say, that's a pretty damn good looking trade setup. And it's just like that. And really, this is what I'm trying to teach you, Joe. Uh, I don't know whether I've oversimplified it, and you might even go, well, that's easier said than done, kind of thing. But that's, if I was going to teach a course on trading, this is basically exactly what you're supposed to be looking for. And then the
Beautiful.
question ultimately here is what are we supposed to be doing through this uh,
Accumulation
2023
here.
window?
Accumulation.
Yeah. So this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing here. And the interesting thing about this particular chart is that, I mean, wow, there's so many different things on this. This is a really good example. It's a good teaching example. So actually, you should probably um, show this to your higher ups, or maybe what would probably do. I think would be a good idea is I'm going to on the tweet here. Let's. Is this one? I think this is it, right?
That's the one with the live link. Yep.
Yeah. So we go. Found this gem of an idea tonight. Yeah. Very interesting looking trade setup. And can you see how this is a setup? Right? We've got location. We have indicator confirmation. We have price structure. When we do our analysis, if we get the 50% bounce, we're going to get paid commensurately versus the risk that we have to take. So do you see the whole setup kind of concept?
Yes, I do.
And it's fascinating. I was
Oh,
just like literally sitting right at the buy level there, just twiddling its thumbs.
yeah.
Saying, and actually I find this happens a lot. Is that, this thing will just bump along here. It's issued the buy signal. Then the damn thing will just go like ape shit. And people in the public, of course, they're going to be FOMO chasing up here, right? Knuckleheads. And they'll actually say up here, well, I never had a chance to get in. I mean, can you see this W down here? Right? Down, up, down, breakout.
Yep.
So you could argue that the buy signal came right in there. The market jumped up, and look how it actually came back, right? This high here is 700 even, and look at the low of this candle. It's 700 even. So you could have placed your buy order at 701, one tick above this W, and you can see it traded. There's another print there at 700. So you could have easily bought this at 701 and boom, Merry Christmas. So,
Beautiful.
the irony of it all is that quite often in trading, this thing will just sit here and it will give you the opportunity to get in. It's just most people, they just can't step up and pull the trigger when they're supposed to. It's quite remarkable, really.
Because they haven't listened to you.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this game a
Yeah.
long, long time. You
Yeah.
must hear it in my voice, right? I'm like, oh, this is so bloody cliche. This is just ridiculous how it just keeps, same thing, keeps happening over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, we did have some audience, people responding to us on Twitter with a couple who want to take a look at least one of those.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
I don't
we
know
got,
how I do this. I'm so sorry. I mean, geez, did I just waste like an hour and a half of
you
time?
didn't, it is not time wasted, trust me.
Well, that's
I think
good.
everyone got stuff out of that.
All right. I can tell
So
you, man, that was pretty damn good. Jesus, that's absolutely incredible.
so we got
All right, let's pull up some names.
yeah, STG.
All right, and where are we gonna
Stargate
look at this thing? STG. Yeah, you know me.
Finance, I'm thinking. They're on
Uh,
KuCoin as well. S
STG. Remember, and I think it probably would behoove us to figure out where Coinigy's target market audience is, because
yeah,
if they are American consumers, we're not allowed to trade on Binance.
yeah.
So
Um,
I don't know whether it's a good idea for
I'd
us
say
to
it's like
use Binance.
40% of our users are in the US and then 60 are over are uh
Wow, it's really that high.
are are about so, but so I'm
Is
looking
that
on
Coinbase there? I don't know what that is.
no, that's Coin One,
No.
GDAX, so it's not on Coinbase.
Kraken, that's North American, right?
Kraken. Yeah.
Could do it here. Let's see if
Let's
we have
see
enough
how
data.
much data. Oh, we got a
That's quite a
decent one.
bit.
Let me see if that's to USD. Yep, that's
I
the
mean,
right
let's
one.
just compare it. Binance, so they only have it versus Tether
Yeah.
on Binance, but let's see, any difference? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit more liquid, but all right. So you can clearly see where the bottom is, right? Can you see these
Yeah.
W's down here?
Yeah.
You can see how the market tried to put in a bottom here. But the problem is you can see momentum is fading here. So this is kind of like one where, this could be like the Verge, like we just saw there, where it tries to bottom, but then the bottom stalls out and, maybe some fundamental story or something changes and people just aren't that bullish. So we go 78.6, 61.8. That's a classic reload zone. We go 88.6. That's our venture cap reload zone. So you can see, and I often tell students this. I'm sure you probably heard me say it once or twice before. Quite often, what happens is I'll look back over time and you'll see that the market actually ultimately does bottom off that 78.6. So I think that's the war that's going on right now. It's a good level. The only problem here, though, is you can see that the original market structure bottom, and actually this should be changed right down to there. Actually, here, let's get rid of that diagonal. I don't need that. There's 78.6. So let's move that a bit there. Um, Notice that this original market structure bottom, that W, is actually off of there. So interesting. Look at the dump that we just saw happen here.
Yeah.
I almost get the feeling that they actually needed to bring this thing back down to the original W bottom here. And kind of think, institutional fingerprint kind of thinking.
Okay.
So notice they broke the market out here, right? This is our original bottom, down, up, down. And they've also got this really cool little bottom here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where is the smart money long? I mean, I don't know whether you use wicks and tails, you use candle body lows. We might even just draw this back down against these lows, 61.8. Candle body lows for trade location. See that? Fuck me, look at that level. Jesus. So the trader's trade is that candle body low level right there. And notice that's right into a reload zone. You see that? So
Yeah.
that's where the smart money's long. And then you could probably do exactly the same thing off of this range. And notice that's what this dump is. Reload zone within a reload zone. Super sexy.
Definitely.
So this is your bottoming area. No doubt about it. So what is that? It's 35 cents. Notice they ran it up here. Woohoo! And then pulled back. And then somebody absorbed all of the selling here and turned it back up, right? So you could make the argument that this is basically an institutional fingerprint. Somebody stopped the selling here and turned it back higher, right? That bar right there. You could do a horizontal support line off of that level. And then notice these lows here. Do you see how the market went down? It went up, it came back down, it broke out. It also emmed off that level, came back down, rallied up. I'm thinking that this is a pretty darn important level. Also, too, notice that was the low there. This is a pretty important level here for this asset.
Could you zoom out so I could see if
Well,
that's
I mean, that's what I was trying to tease you about. So
oh,
let's maybe change
paying
that to a,
attention
well,
here.
we'll even go a dash line just so we can see it.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty important level. So
I'd
let's
say
see
so.
where we are now in relation to that level. Okay, we're
Okay.
still quite a bit above it, aren't we?
About 10 cents up.
That's
11.
that dotted line right there.
Yeah.
So
12.
you can see how Alpha 78.6 here, thinking reload zones, they tried to put in a bottom. Market worked its way higher. Probably the sharpshooter trade, which probably is a little bit more difficult than most of us, is probably that reload zone off of that rally. You see that?
I do.
Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Candle body lows for trade location. Oh my goodness. Reload zones. Nice inside bar. The problem here, of course, is that this is a speculative asset. Hint, 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 obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, so a lot of the price action down against these lows is going to be very sloppy. So had you been able to buy off of this original bottom here, off that 78.6, that was about 50 cents, and they worked it up to a total of 70, 75 cents. So you weren't able to get a double off. I get the impression that if you were trading this, I mean, if you're a little old lady and you came in and bought 78.6s, I don't really think there's anything to do here. If anything, you're probably getting ready to add to that trade. It's a good trade location. But the problem here is that, like for traders, you can see how this thing has tried multiple times to bottom here, and it keeps getting
Chilling.
bitch slapped.
Yeah.
So this is painful, and if anything, this is a really good anecdote to venture capital. It goes this way. What I would say is probably the tell is volume. So notice, when this thing was ramping up here, look at all this green volume bars. Can you see those green volume bars?
Yeah.
Oops.
Some random big ones there.
Huge. Like, look at the size of that
Yeah.
one, eh?
That one's absurd.
Okay, but here, when this thing's trying to bottom, where's the buyers?
No one's there. I
So
think
that's
that's
got to be
one's
a little
buying.
bit suspicious. And, we have one gentleman on the site who's just like, volume is so critical for these things. And if anything, it almost looks to me like there was some sort of event here. And at the beginning of the day, this thing was rocking and or rolling, eh? It actually broke out. This high here was 71.69 and it got up to 74. And that was a big green candle at one point, eh?
Yeah.
And something happened here. Now, one thing I did notice recently, that some of the smart money in this space were kind of mentioning. I don't know how long ago it was, but I pointed out, and somebody else had pointed it out to me, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of a bit disturbing. But recently, somebody had pointed out that there was a whole bunch of these little altcoins that were going to have a lot of supply that was going to hit the hit the market. And remember, we had people asking about that Hex. Do you remember Hex and
Yeah.
Richard Hart's coin? I mean,
Yep.
I don't know whether you saw what happened to that thing, but and I don't know where the best place to look at this is.
X try.
Is that where he is? Yeah, there you go. Versus Tether. So this is a really good example that remember we were looking at this through here, right?
Yes, sir.
And then they had like a big fundamental event and some sort of coins or something like that was unlocked.
Yep.
And look at what happens when supply hits the market, eh? Yeah, just straight down. So I don't know the fundamental story here, but I'm wondering just out of the back of my mind whether this thing just that that date was that like some sort of release of a whole bunch of supply or something. I was actually quite surprised.
For for
Uh,
Hex, I believe so.
yeah, see, I was kind of hoping I could find this. Of course,
You're
Brian's
coming
got a
up
whole
on it.
bunch of rhetoric
Yeah.
and stuff in here. But there was a tweet that I put out recently that somebody had brought to my attention that was like, there's a bunch of supply hitting the market here. I don't know whether it's this one though. So you're saying that this guy did have some supply hit the market?
He in the chat, I'm pretty sure we talked about that.
All right. So
I remember us talking about it on the show.
something happened here. And not only did that green bar start to fade, but it actually turned into a red bar. That is an extremely bearish candle. Now, what do we call that type of candle?
Um, that one is the shooting star.
Very good. And, make a note of this. Shooting stars are very bearish. And if we go through the low of the shooting star candle, which we did the next day, that is a confirmation that the shooting star is legit. So we did a little bit of a counter trend rally. You could even argue there's a bit of a shooting star on this candle as well, eh? So as soon as we get up into this area, it seems like a lot of supply is hitting the market. And then baboosh, boosh, boosh, doosh, doosh, doosh. So I don't know. It's probably a little too early to get bullish. Like I said, I think there was a case to get bullish through here, but whatever the fundamental story was, something went terribly wrong here.
Yeah,
Usually, what I suggest to people is if you're trading this, if you're a little old lady and you're just accumulating away, well, no big deal. Who cares? Um, for those people that are trading, what I usually suggest is you don't ever really want to see a winning trade turn into a losing trade.
hmm
So if you're trading, what I often suggest to people is that if you do happen to see 50% of your anticipated move hit, not a bad idea to move your stop to scratch. Then that way, if the shit hits the
Understandable.
fan, something goes terribly wrong, well, you just walk away at scratch. So can you see how, like literally, on that move, I would just say, that's pretty damn close. I think probably a good idea. Let's move our stop to scratch. I mean, look at that, eh? And then that way, if this thing does crap out, we don't get wiped out. And I think I probably would have walked away at scratch on that event there. And then hindsight being 2020, I would have looked at this shooting star after the fact and go, "Oh fuck, I don't want to be in this thing. Give me some sort of reason to get the hell out of here."
Understandable.
So I think that's what happened here trading wise. Um, and if you're hunting for buy signals, as I said, this thing almost looks like it's a widowmaker because it keeps trying to put in W's and then just getting bitch slapped.
More,
So
more,
I
more
wouldn't trust
down.
this thing as far as I could throw it. It would be interesting to see whether, yeah, there was even bull divs here. Now, actually, this is a good lesson because you notice that this bullish divergence confirmed right through here. Well, okay, so that's not bad. But here's a really good example where you say, well, Brian, we're in the reload zone. We've got a bullish momentum divergence. I've got a W in price. It looks like everything's good to go, and yet this thing busted you out. So, really good example that nothing's ever going to work 100% of the time. Um, and here's a good example where they did put in a trade setup here, like I said, and it just didn't work. And on the break of this low, I think you got to walk away from that trade right there. And then if I used to work with this lady, Linda Bradford Rajski, years and years and years ago, and she always said that if you have a bullish idea or bearish, doesn't really matter, but give it 2 attempts. So here's probably a really good example where maybe I had one attempt and then it failed and got stopped out. But notice if I kept my focus, the literally right after that stop out, in comes another W, and then that reload zone, and that set up that trade there. So I don't know. Take it for whatever it's worth. This one looks pretty damn challenging from a trading perspective.
Yeah, just constant new lows.
Yeah, it's
Its
painful.
way.
Because the problem is, and you even heard me say this before, like look left, right?
Yep.
So the fact that these lows actually stabbed through this low here and went lower means that if we look left, really the place where we should be thinking that this thing should go down to is down into these levels here. And it's just doing this like a son of a gun. Like I hate to say it, but now this actually looks to me like a megaphone. So I might go like one high, two highs, although that's pretty steep. But anyway, something along those lines. There to there, and then I don't know, maybe even something like there to there. This thing's just evil, real pain in the butt. Might even suggest let's maybe just zoom out a bit and let's see whether the weekly chart's giving us anything to work with here. So coming down into 78.6s, not the best looking W, but I suppose it was there. You had the market move up to 50%. Move your stop to scratch. You're stopped at scratch. And I just don't have anything to work with here now. And if you're thinking about trading ranges going forward right now, top end of the range in my eyes is that level there. Bottom end of the range is that level there. So we could very easily swim around in this area. And both of these lows could be taken out, no problem. In fact, you'd probably, maybe even from a weekly basis, say, well, there's your megaphone there. And maybe that means that's there. So, uh, midpoint of the megaphone almost looks like maybe it's that line there. So we would put our
Yeah.
megaphone
Recently used. There we
like
go.
that. Something along those lines. Which means we probably will see a revisit of this midpoint of the megaphone. But I actually would like to see one low, two lows. I'd like to see this tagged a third time. And if it could come down here to the bottom of the megaphone and tag that original breakout level, I think that's actually a really good trade location. Maybe even down against that 88.6 there. But this thing looks like chop Vegas. I wouldn't have any reason to be bullish here. Looks like it was trying to, but that has now evaporated.
Maybe.
So as I said there earlier, to start off the whole conversation, because
Mhm.
we are at or below reload zones, I don't have a problem with you coming in. Maybe you say, you know, I really believe in the technology. I think the developers are really good people. Blah 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 blah. So I'm just going to maybe like 1% of the stake that I'm working with. Just going to go in every couple months and just nibble away. Call that our little old lady planting flowers, thanks to Grim, our level 1 instructor. Canasta Club, you know, all the fun names for little
Yeah.
old ladies in your life. Well, I suppose you could even argue that might even go back after get that low there, but then that's going to screw up our megaphone. Anyway, so I don't mind because we are at the bottom of the range. If you're just acquiring this, okay, fine. But we have a strict rule, of course, never, ever, ever put more than 5% of your stake at risk in any one name. So if you are just nanny nibbling and acquiring at the bottom end of range, if you hit that 5% level, you got to stop buying. And you just got to say, all right, I'm loaded up. I actually don't mind down the road if this thing ever can actually double you out. That you know, somebody believed in this idea to push it to new highs here through this 2023 winter season. So there is some sort of demand for this thing. That means down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if this level is traded to. It's probably going to take some time. And in fact, you know, you've heard me talk about saucer bottoms before.
Yeah.
So what I would expect here is something along the lines of there to there, and where is the ultimate low? So if this is the ultimate low and that was the lowest low, then I would be thinking something like that.
Okay.
That's a big if, right? Because I think we sort of agreed that we probably need to come back down and flirt with these lows down in here.
Yeah.
So, you know, just anywhere, somewhere through this September, October, November year end window into next year. Remember, beginning of the year, January, February, March, this thing did really well. So, my hunch is January, February, March of this coming year, that's when this thing probably will do well again.
Okay.
September, October, November, really crappy. So here we are heading into September, October, November. My hunch is probably not a lot to get excited about. If we look at our indicators, MACD never did have a bullish divergence there, so that's kind of interesting. We go back down to the daily chart. Maybe we can get a little better look. Yeah, this is what bothered me when I saw this just a moment ago. What's another great tell that something clearly went wrong on this event right here? Notice the MACD put
When
in a big fat M there, right?
M. Yep.
Look how the OBV, it would have printed a one hell of a green candle had that stayed up. But that turned into a selling candle, shooting star. That basically is your visual representation that the bears have taken over this story. And until the volume impetus, I'm not going to get into volume impetus today. I think we have talked about it in the past. Maybe ask me about it in a future episode.
I'll make note of
But
it.
as it stands right now, the bears are driving the bus, and you have to wait until the bears go back to sleep and the bulls actually wake up for us to actually believe this thing has bottomed. As well, too, remember we said that what was the magic number? Let's see if you can remember this. What was the magic number that you needed to see this blue Willie line, the moving average? Maybe let's change it so you can see this. We'll put the plot away and let's maybe make the EMA yellow so you can see it. What number does this have to be for us to officially say that this market is oversold?
Um, it would be 40.
Well, you see the numbers along the right hand
20.
side.
20. I didn't see those.
Can you see these numbers?
Yeah. Oh, I guess oversold on the bottom.
Yep,
Then yeah, 80.
that's a
Sorry.
minus there.
Minus 8. So
So
minus
in
80.
essence, this thing has to be below minus 80
Okay.
for us to officially call this stupidly oversold. Is it stupidly oversold yet?
No.
No, it isn't. It was briefly
Was back
back
there.
here in the spring. And of course, we had our summer rally, right? That is the summer rally. So as it stands right now, market is not oversold. Um, MACD is making lower highs and lower lows. There's no signs of bullish divergence here anywhere. Can you see? Remember, I think we've talked to you about RSI trends. Can you see how the RSI
Briefly.
uptrend, you might have drawn one, say, off of that range there, that low, and then all those lows? Boom! See you later. Broken like a rented
Yeah.
mule. And you might even argue that now there is a big RSI downtrend working. So this thing won't be a bull again until we actually can get back above this trend line
And then get a
and
W on
actually
that
W
side.
out on the other side of this big honking downtrend line. So it's going to be a while before this thing's actually a bull again. Actually, one interesting anecdote. Let's see if you remember this. I don't think you would, but let's see. Some of the YouTube audience, they probably remember this. We got 8 people watching the video. uh, what are we supposed to think if we see a W happen in the RSI uh, after a big dump like this?
It's
I'll give you a hint.
I
Usually I
want to
would
say
color this teal.
I don't know if I don't think we've discussed this.
All right. Um, when I trade with RSI, the first M or W that you see actually stops whatever the previous trend is.
Okay.
So this first W, that's not a buy signal, but it is all right, the Bears, you better just cool your jets. We're probably done. Thank you, Adam.
Okay.
So
So I guess
this is a little advanced. I don't think I've done this with you before yet, Joe.
yeah.
But notice like here. So can you see how the market was heading down, 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 down? And all of a sudden we put in this little W here. Right? See that?
Yeah.
That's the first W. So if we put it here, this isn't necessarily a buy signal, but it is well, if you're a bear, maybe just calm down. Hop off on the sidelines. Let things settle down a bit. So let's see what that looks like. That was right through here. That makes sense, right? If you were a bear, you probably should have just cooled your jets. Actual buy signal? Not really, because you can see this tail actually went down all the way back down to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So the second W that you see in RSI, that's actually sort of like your trade signal. And usually I color these yellow. So Can you see how we went down, up, down, and then broke out? So this one, we could actually color yellow. And it's that W. Do you see that W?
I do.
So this second one, the first one is just bears, calm down. Cool your jets.
Cool your jets.
Like that. We color it teal. The second one is actually a trade signal. And if this second W comes through the 50 line, oh boy, look out. And sure enough, there's the 50 line. So that
Yep.
W did basically come through the 50 line there. But what I want to do is let's put on a vertical line where that broke out. So that's right there. You see that?
Yep.
It's the second W, so it's yellow, which means that it's a trade signal. So let's see, would that have been a good idea to take the trade there? Buy on the breakout there, and that produced this rally. Now remember, we said that something horribly went wrong here on this date.
Yeah, I tried to look something up. I didn't see anything in the news,
It'd be
but I'm sure
interesting
something.
whoever asked us to look at this, they must know what happened that date. So
Yeah.
something happened August 10th. And
I
that's a big
commented.
something, right? That was 76, 77 million coins traded that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Something happened that day, folks.
So if you're watching this and you requested us, you have to let us know on Twitter. I commented and told them that we were talking about it. So
Right.
hopefully they'll get back to us here.
So, point here is that you had a nice little buy that came off of this bottom here. And if you're using RSI to help you trade, I think that was the buy signal there. We rallied up, everything was humming along, and then literally something very, very negative happened. If you were using things like 50% to sort of trail stops, in fact, this one might have even actually had the 2-to-1 hit. Let's see. If we had bought this W, although it's very sloppy, but let's say we bought that breakout there. We're going to risk to new lows, which is that tail low there, right there. Did you actually get a 2-to-1 off? Oh, look at that. What a coincidence.
There
So
we
there's
go.
2-to-1. So had you taken that RSI signal, you better make damn sure to take some profits. Also, too, you could probably do chaos. This is a sloppy W, though. This is not a good looking W at all. So if you had said, well, Brian, there's no way I'm going to trade that W, that's a mess, I would not have faulted you. You might have even argued that if you had bought, like, I do like this inside bar. This is, what's this 2-bar candle pattern called? Do you know what this is called?
Where
Uh, that 2-bar candle pattern. This big red candle and then this smaller
oh, is
green
that the
candle.
V bottom?
That is a V bottom, but what's this candle
Uh,
pattern called?
called a it's not a
I will
rail
give you a
track.
hint. It is something to do with reproduction in the great country of Japan.
I don't know if we've discussed this. Oh, the
And actually, if you translate it, it is literally baby inside mother's pregnant body. That's the literal translation.
I do not know.
It's called a harami.
Okay, yeah, that's a new one. Have not been. That's a new one
All
there.
right. We also call this. What else do we also
Railroad
call this?
tracks.
No.
Okay, I was going to say
Adam's
Adam said
wrong.
that, and I didn't think that was right because I have it written down that those like
You gotta
this.
love Adam. He's definitely enthusiastic, but
Yeah,
it's
thank you,
not
Adam. I
railroad tracks.
appreciate the help though.
But this is a harami.
Okay,
It's also called an inside bar. I like this as actually a trade signal. I don't mind that. I do like the idea of risking down to a break of these lows because you can see that this candle here, This opened up here. It actually went all the way down and it cleaned out these lows, and then it turned back up. So I guess just the point I would make is, did this particular setup spit out a 2 to 1 for you? And of course, there is 2 to 1 right there, right somewhere in that area.
Yeah, it did.
So I think you could have made money buying this and trading this, but you better be a damn professional. This would have been tricky. And, just the really simple sell half on a double. No, this guy isn't a candidate for this. So, keep in mind the sell half on a double. Um, that's like almost like I'm not really that interested. I do want to make money from trading, but I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. And just a simple rule is if the asset doubles from where you buy it, let half of it go. And just out of curiosity, if you sell half of a position at double what you bought it, what's the risk on the rest of the position?
Risk free.
Zero. So it's like a really, really simple way to play the market.
Yeah.
What I think's happening off of this chart here, specifically down here, if you are quote unquote trading this, reload zones against the original bottom. I think you got a half decent trade off. Did you get your 2 to 1? And would it have been a good idea to buy this huge W here? I don't think so. Had you bought this huge W here, I think on balance, like we said, 2 to 1s. If you do 50%, we basically came into that area on this move. At the very least, I think you probably just walk away at scratch.
Gotcha.
That's a tricky one, but if anything, I like when you guys ask me tough ones. This
That's
this would
good.
be this would be one of those type of assets where you're like, fuck, this is a bitch trading this thing. Sometimes like that Verge chart. You see the difference in the Verge chart versus this chart. That Verge chart is just so pretty and clean. This looks very difficult. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
You can get there.
Okay, so holy Jesus, we've been
I
going for
know, I
two
was
and a
gonna
half
say.
hours.
Yeah, we've been going for a while, but so then I was thinking, how about for next show we'll dedicate a good portion of the time and we can discuss some of those ones that I did some research on, and we'll kind of have my
Yeah, if anything, why don't we
portfolio
make
set
that
up,
we'll make that the theme of next
the theme
week's
of it.
show.
Yeah, we'll just dedicate that, and then I'll have like my portfolio and stuff completely set up, and we'll, now that I've kind of learned some still have a lot more
Well, the
to
great part
master.
about learning this is you don't have to spend a dime. You don't have to spend any
Yeah,
money at all.
yeah.
What I would
Well,
say the smart thing, well, sit up straight. What I would say the smart thing to do is to build your list, and we will just call it a watch list.
okay.
And we
I've
are
got some
going
on there
to
already.
build the list and talk a little bit about the fundamental reason why you want to get involved in these stories. And then we pull up the price chart and we say, all right, where is a good trade location? And
I
then we
like
just
that.
simply wait for the setups to develop in those trade locations.
Yeah, I like that. So it's next week we'll have a little bit of different format, but I think it'll be really cool to kind of see it from that light. And I already have some research typed out and stuff. So
Good.
yeah, I've got my reasons behind the projects that I picked. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing that.
So was there any name that you saw that where people are like, oh, I really want to look at this, but we just didn't get it to it?
There's no repeats, but
Okay.
uh, I do keep a running list of uh the ones that people do request that we don't get to. So
Okay.
I do have that.
Well,
Uh,
and in my defense, you started me off asking me to talk about chaos theory. So
yeah.
once you open up that can of worms, there's no going back.
I'm not complaining. It's all great information for me, and I know the audience appreciates your insights on things as well.
Cool.
Uh, but with that being said, those who
Maybe you
are
can give me a
listening,
moment to just do a shameless shill here
that's where
for.
I was getting there. I was gonna say in the bio, there is a link to this page that Brian's now showing. It's right at the top of the description. Be sure to check it out. And Brian, I'll let you take it away to quickly talk about that.
Yeah, you can see. I mean, every term, just like regular schools, we have a new trader education program that starts up. We'll be starting up our fall term shortly. You can see it starts in about 18 days. At the very least, if you are watching this after the fact, pop on this page and just enter the raffle, and you never know, you might just win a free seat, which would be an awfully nice treat, eh?
It definitely would. So
So, at the very least, I highly encourage everybody watching this video to do that. But as well too, I think this page, I think it gives you a pretty good sort of overview of not only what our students have thought of the program. We also have a couple of videos embedded in this page. We had a nice interview with Mr. Da Vinci there. He was an old student years ago. Then also at the bottom, we also have a couple more videos that we've included here that talk a little bit about the TRI experience. This was when I was in Europe in 2000, yeah, I guess 2018, 17, maybe something like that. And this is when we had a meetup here locally in Vancouver in 2020, I think it was. So it's a lot of fun. Um, Pretty good description of what it is that you get and what is involved in each of the education modules, programs. The whole education program is about a year in duration. I like people to take about a year to do it. And they always say you never really know a job until you've done it for one full year. And I definitely think that trading cryptocurrencies is very, very seasonal. You probably heard me use the expression buy when it snows, sell when it goes, that kind of thing.
yes, sir.
So you might come into the market here, say in the middle of the middle of the summer, and you actually think this is the way that the market acts throughout the year, and that's just simply not the case. So I suggest to people that if you really do want to learn this business of trading and understand how the market works on a regular basis, that you just really, I would even say that you put your capital away. And all of our new students in the level one program, our instructor actually asks you to trade 100 what we call paper trades. Kind of like what we were talking about, what we're going to do with you and your list of ideas that you're interested in, right? We'll go through the process. Whether you actually decide to put any real money to work in these ideas or not, well, that's just purely a function of how confident you feel. Um, but the point here is that, even working with you, Joe, my hunch is if you and I can do this show for one full year, then at the end of the year, when we get to next summer, I think you will be fully educated, not necessarily on all the different topics that we teach, but just based purely on trading setups, the process, risk management, location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go, type of risk takers there are
Yeah.
in the public and, in the investing world, and where do you particularly fall. So that dictates what type of behavioral pattern you should follow. I think you'll have a pretty good idea of that. And I would encourage anybody, number one, don't be in a hurry to teach yourself this. I've been at this game for 35 years. That is a very, very, very long time. I've
Yeah.
seen absolutely insane bull markets. I've also seen absolutely insane bear markets. Um, I've seen periods where university professors literally make fun of company CEOs because university professors think that they know better than company CEOs, and it turns out the company CEO knew much better than university professor ever did. I am a person who is a big believer in this learning from the school of hard knocks. And, I went to UBC, I did the economics program. I fought with university professors because they were so bloody arrogant, and I hate arrogant people. I literally walked out of UBC, walked straight into the stock market, and literally have not worked at any other job since. And I've done every single job you can possibly think of in the market. So I definitely think that our education program works. We are here to teach you the process. Process has not been reinvented. You could have learned the exact same process from Mr. W.D. Gann 100 years ago. It doesn't really change. The only problem is that people are in such a hurry to kind of get rich quick that they don't bother taking the time to really learn how this running a small business of trading actually works. You want to learn how to run a small business of trading with the expectation that your business is going to be profitable, then I don't think there's a better school out there that will teach you this. That's my shill.
Yeah.
As I said, if you can come in, sign up, and you might just win a free seat to our level 1 program, and it might just change the world for you entirely, change your life for free. Um, $1,000 to change your life in this hyperinflation world really isn't that much of a stretch.
No.
And if you want to, learn about the futures markets, you want to learn about, WD Gann in detail, if you want to learn about options, derivatives trading, you want to learn about harmonics and Gartley patterns and all that, well, as I said, our full education program is about a year in duration. You can learn about all the different topics that we're going to teach you and how to trade. Hey, there's gap theory. I think you guys learned about gap theory a little bit tonight.
Yep.
And so, feel free to pop on this page and learn about all the various different topics that we cover in our education. Okay,
Beautiful.
there's your shill. So I'd love to see each and every one of you, at the very least, just sign up for the free raffle.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, the link to this page is in the description of this video. I think it's like the second line in. You can see it now. And the proof is in the pudding. We've had countless people who are on this show are TRI students from the past, and uh, obviously think very highly of Brian and his teaching. So be sure to at least fill out the raffle and take a look at this page to really see if this is for you. And on that note, please like and comment on the video once we're done here, and help get some views up to get this information in front of some more people. So,
Please
yes,
hit the
please.
like button, subscribe, and ring Joe's bell.
Yes, sir. All right, everyone, we will see you next week. See you Wednesday. That's all for now.
Toodaloo.